So I think it helped to have a routine. That's kind of how I stuck with it. So I wasn't just kind of going whenever I felt like it. But if I'm planning to go like every day, then you just kind of pack your bag in the morning and then go after work. And it's not really, you're not going just like, oh, do I feel like it today? It's kind of part of your routine.
Super Authentic Tales is a podcast that brings people from all walks of life to talk about their experience, memories, and even struggles. The desired effect of the podcast is to help you feel empowered and relatable by realizing that you are never alone in the world experiencing different events of life. And today, I'm privileged enough to have James, a certified personal trainer in Britain, talk about his journey to fitness. I hope you will enjoy the conversation. So you've been working now for more than 10 years. I think precisely it's like 10 years and a half. That's a very long time. And obviously it's a milestone for anyone to have been able to be this persistent for anything. Tell me a little bit of your fitness journey, that how you got started with working out, what motivate you to begin this journey?
Okay, yeah. So I started working out in January 2013. It's quite easy for me to remember when I started because I remembered what was going on in my life at the time. So that was the first year I was at university, away from home. So I started in September 2012, and then there was the first term, and then the Christmas break, and then the New Year. And it was a kind of New Year's resolution, just kind of wanting to make a change. And there was a gym at the university, at the Students' Union. So I joined, and there were some very friendly, helpful people there, like gym instructors. So they kind of helped me get started, showing me what to do and giving me some training programs and ideas of what to do. And then from then, I continued working out through uni until I graduated. So about 3 years later, like probably about June 2015, and then moved back home to Brighton, and then joined the local gym. And yeah, I've been to a few different gyms around in Brighton ever since I've been living here.
It's so funny when you mention like your kind of like the New Year, not wishes, like the resolutions to go to the gym. Um, as a migrant in England, I found it quite interesting to know that a lot of people put going to the gym as a New Year resolutions. I'm not saying that people say back home in Taiwan where I'm coming from don't do this. Obviously they do, but I just don't think people do this as often as people do here. So it's funny how you said that that was originally one of your New Year resolution. And what's surprising is that you're still doing it, and it's now more than 10 years and a half. That is very, very stunning to me. And it sounded to me that you originally started just as, something you probably want to do due to, I don't know, maybe you saw people doing it and you think it would be something good for you to do, just to have something different in your life. And you are very persistent. Tell me that, has there been any moment in your life during this journey that you feel like you wanted to give up?
Um, Not really. I mean, yeah, I've been quite lucky. Like, I never really burnt out. I'm always worried that would happen. Because I feel like in that case, if I didn't enjoy it, I'd probably still have to go anyway, just for like general fitness. Because if I stopped going to the gym, wouldn't be doing any exercise at all. So I'd either have to find a different exercise or sport, or I just have to go to the gym, even if I didn't enjoy it, just to stay healthy. But
So,
yeah, it's funny what you say about New Year's resolutions
yeah,
because every year around January it gets really busy for like a few weeks or a month, and then people die off. They kind of quit.
exactly.
So I never really wanted to call it a New Year's resolution when I started because it kind of almost has a bad reputation of something that people do for a short time and they quit. For me, it was more like wanting to make a change in my life because
Yes.
I wasn't very happy, and I remember before I went back to uni, I kind of had a chat with my dad before I got on the train and kind of creating ideas of what I could do to kind of be more sociable and get out more and kind of just kind of make a change and make the most of uni. And I kind of decided this was something I wanted to do. Yeah, I just stuck with it. But
It's,
I suppose I had to take a break when the gyms closed for COVID.
mhm.
Um, so I pretty much just had to make the most of what I could do, like in my bedroom. So I kind of got quite inventive with having towels over like my kind of bunk bed and kind of trying to pull on nets in different ways to create some resistance. Um, and it was okay. I mean, I definitely prefer using like machines and weights. I think actually I might have had a few dumbbells at home, like 15 kilos, so not super heavy, but heavy enough. And I think that helped as well, though.
Tell us about any misconception that you often encounter when it comes to workout. For instance, any misconception that you often hear people talking about.
So I think the one you hear most is the kind of spot reduction myth, how fat in one area can be targeted. So the classic one is if you have fat around the middle or on the belly and the abs, if you do a lot of sit-ups and crunches, you can kind of lose the fat in that one area, where in actual fact the losing the fat will come gradually through the whole body through a calorie deficit. So by burning more calories than you're using, then you're taking in from food. So either by reducing the amount of food you're eating or increasing the exercise. Um, that's the main one that comes to me. I suppose that only really applies to fat, because if you actually want to grow a muscle, say your biceps, if you're doing lots of arm exercises like bicep curls, that will increase the size of your biceps. So, because if you were just doing some other exercises like squats for your legs, that's not going to help your biceps. So, I suppose the myth, in a sense, might work if you're looking to make a muscle bigger in a certain area, but it just isn't correct for losing fat. Um, I think that maybe the other one is like this kind of anabolic window that people think like as soon as they finish a workout, they have to drink a protein shake or they're going to lose all of the gains from that workout. I mean, as long as you're reaching your daily macro goals like protein intake, you can have your protein or your shake whenever you want in the day, in the morning, in the evening. It doesn't have to be immediately after your workout.
This is very interesting because what you said reminded me of some either Instagram memes or Instagram videos featuring people doing some special exercises to be able to be slim on certain parts of their body. And I think what you just said is important in the way that if you just want to lose fat, it may not work. However, if you are targeting a certain area of your body, then that exercises might actually help. So I think it's important to know your goal. That's probably a lesson for us to learn. And apart from the misconception, there is another thing I really want to talk about on this podcast is about body shame. Obviously, most of the people work out to be healthy, to be more confident, just to be happy. But what is interesting is that because I'm coming from a culture very different from the British culture, I've noticed that the tolerance before what is considered an acceptable or an appealing body is very, very different from what I have observed here in England. Can you tell us your view on this?
Yeah, so the difference seems to be that in the West, there's an approach of like progressiveness and inclusivity, and that extends to people's appearance and also their body shape. So the principle, at least in the UK and I think other Western countries, is if someone is overweight in particular, then that's seen as more socially acceptable, and they have the right to do that, and people shouldn't criticize them. Though, whereas in the East, it's not seen as socially acceptable, and people there seem to be a lot less people who are overweight, maybe because they'd be criticised a lot more and they'd face a lot less social acceptance. So there's kind of pros and cons to it. I mean, I suppose the pro is that like if you're overweight, then you're probably better off living in the West, because at least that way you'll be accepted and won't be criticised. But then the downside are the health implications, because being overweight can have negative health effects. And if people are being told that it's fine to be overweight, that might not be medically accurate.
So, in your view, how does this cultural difference play a role when it comes to, for instance, gym popularity or gym usage in your view?
So I think, so I think lots of men still have this idea of kind of the ideal kind of muscular physique. I don't think body positivity so much applies to men as it does to women. I mean, you can still probably be overweight as a man and feel comfortable in society and feel like you're not going to be criticised. But I still think a lot of men, especially young men, are still trying to kind of bodybuild and build the ideal physique, and you see a lot of this in kind of TVs and movies and kind of shows like Love Island, where all the guys are really fit and ripped and have six packs. So guys probably see that and they think that's kind of how you have to look if you want to be attractive to girls. And that's what they look up to.
It's very interesting how you talk about, differences between East and the West, and about the social standards when it comes to what is considered charming or attractive. I think at the end of the day, it's just important for us to realize what we actually want when it comes to workout, and we stay focused in order to achieve our goal. I personally believe that you have definitely benefit mentally by going to the gym frequently, so that you are still able to keep this routine on a very regular basis. And I would like to know what kind of benefits that you think you have got by going to the gym, in mentally speaking. And the second thing is that you mentioned about working out at home. Obviously, pretty much everyone on this planet had to change their workout routine when COVID hit. Although COVID is over now, I still think having a little bit of tips, knowing how to stay fit, even just at home when you have a very busy day, is something that everyone should learn. So it would be great if you can tell us a little bit of details of how you actually execute those home workout to the audience.
I think it can be quite like relaxing and de-stressing to go to the gym. So you're kind of like physically working out and you can just kind of relieve any tension, and you kind of forget about whatever else is going on in your life. If you have any like stresses or whatever, you can just try and forget about and just focus on your workout. But yeah, so I think it helped to have a routine. That's kind of how I stuck with it. So I wasn't just kind of going whenever I felt like it. But if I'm planning to go like every day, then you just kind of pack your bag in the morning and then go after work. And it's not really, you're not going just like, oh, do I feel like it today? It's kind of part of your routine, almost like going to work. So, but luckily I enjoy it, so it's not like I'm forcing myself to go. But I think it helps to have a routine, and then you can just stick to it. And then listening to music at the gym as well helps. It's nice to listen to music and then kind of get you motivated and makes it more enjoyable. If I didn't listen to music, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
then
Sorry to interrupt, because I know that I've asked you about the home workout tips, but I think before we move on to that one, it would be good to talk about how to stay motivated, as you mentioned about listening to music, making sure that, the gym, the workout itself, it's not as boring as some people might experience. So I just want to know, apart from listening to music, what is your advice to people who really are struggling keeping a active lifestyle? Because for various reasons, not everyone is able to keep this regime, and on top of that, not everyone actually enjoys working out. However, for health reasons, it is important that we always try to stay active. So what is your advice to people who actually struggle?
so although the gym works well for me and I'd encourage it for other people, I don't feel like I should say that like everyone has to go to the gym. I think it's good to find the kind of exercise you enjoy. I think the benefits of the gym is it's a solo exercise. It's not like a team sport like football, which might only be on like once a week, and you need to find a group of people to meet up to play. So in that sense, the gym's quite nice. It's like 24-hour gyms, so you can just go any time of the day whenever it suits you. What helps keep me motivated is keeping track of your workouts. You can use like an app or just like a notebook with pen and paper. And then if you're always aiming to improve on your exercises, so if you're trying to add a bit of weight or do an extra rep, and then that way over the long term you're making progress. But then another thing is there's a saying that like motivation it's only lasts a short amount of time, but it's more dedication that matters. So you don't always want to be looking just for like that like short term motivation just to get you enough energy to go to the gym on that one day, but you more need kind of the long term dedication just to commit to it and make it a routine.
Yeah, it sounds to me that it's just important for everyone to make sure workout is just part of everyone's life. I think that's probably the
Yeah.
conclusion. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because don't get me wrong, sometimes I even struggle as well. I need to really make myself to the gym, and I always enjoy the feelings after, having, sweating for a few hours or even just for
Mm.
20 minutes, but it's always difficult to start. So your advice
Mm.
is very valuable. And we also mentioned about home workout, and I think before we dig into this further, I want to mention that, because if I am right, I remember that just like a few days ago, you even find time, you managed to have an airport workout using
Yeah.
whatever you could see at the airport. And I think that could be strictly relevant to home workout. Tell my audience about how you actually execute those workout regimes using the things that you can see.
Yeah, so for the airport workout, it was a bit different from a home workout because in the airport you're kind of even more limited. So you don't really have like a towel, well at least I didn't, to use to try and hook over something and pull on, and then there weren't any like movable kind of furniture like chairs or anything I could kind of position, so I had to use what was around me. So I had kind of some fixed chairs which I could use for like seated kind of dips for the tricep. Um, and then there were these metal kind of bars at the end of this moving walkway, so I could use that to do inverted rows, so kind of hanging on my body underneath and then pulling up, and then just on the ground to do press ups. And then I had a backpack with me as well, so trying to use that as a dumbbell and just lifting that for any dumbbell exercises like bicep curls or tricep extensions or lateral raises or front raise and real depth raises. And then doing some leg exercises like walking lunges and like one leg pistol squats, and putting one foot on the chair and doing the Romanian split squat. So just trying to do everything I could with what was around me.
From what you have described it, from what you have described, it sounds to me that most of your trainings targeting your muscles. Right. Just wondering that, do you do any cardio exercise?
Not much really. Normally I have like a 5-minute warm up, like so rowing, seated bike, stepping. I think that's about it. Running like on a treadmill, but not like long cardio, like half an hour, or anything like that. I mean, sometimes at the weekends I might go for like a walk or something, or I might go for a run if someone else is, but I don't really consider that kind of a workout. That's more just kind of like something to do in my free time. So at the gym I'm focusing on strength training and resistance rather than cardio, but that's probably more because of my goals, because I'm looking to build muscle and strength.
That's the question I was just about to ask, because it sounds to me that your ultimate goal is to become big.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's kind of like bodybuilding, so to build the physique that you want. So I mean cardio can have its part if you're looking to cut down and kind of lose weight and bring out muscle definition, but I'm not a professional or competing or anything like that, and I don't have like special like bulking or cutting diets, so I don't really have a need for long cardio. I mean, I'm sure there's always benefits for like cardiovascular for the heart, so it probably always is good generally for your health if you can do cardio, but yeah, you can kind of go for a run outside whenever you want. So when I'm at the gym, I like to use the equipment that's available only at the gym.
Yeah,
and I never really found cardio that interesting either. I mean, some people might find lifting weights boring, but I suppose for me, I could say that I find cardio boring, but I mean, I suppose just if something's boring, that's not a reason not to do it. But yeah, it's kind of quite hard work as well. I'd lot rather be lifting weights for like an hour than running for an hour. But I guess it's personal preference, and yeah, I mean, some people enjoy running, and that's kind of their goals. Maybe if they do have a sport and they need to run for that, or yeah, there's really different reasons. This depends on what you prefer and what your goals are.
You know, I really enjoy your honesty, that obviously I fully agree with you that everyone has different goal and have different preferences. You enjoy becoming big, well, whereas other people might enjoy doing a lot of cardio or run for several miles. It's completely up to them and fully depends on their goal. But I have a practical question for you to answer, because I believe that most of the people who are looking to become fit may have this question, which is, say if someone wants to lose weight for health reason, should that person focus on cardio or resistance training?
It really depends what they're going to adhere to best for compliance. So what kind of comes down to what they prefer. Because if someone really hates running, and then they're told they have to run, then they're likely not to do much of that, and therefore they won't get much benefit. I imagine if someone's overweight, depending on how much weight they are, they might find things like running harder, and then some cardio might be a bit easier, like cycling or the elliptical.
Then swimming might be easier.
Swimming might be easier as well. Yeah, I was more thinking about equipment that was available at the gym. It'd also be interesting, like what would actually burn more calories, the cardio or the resistance. I mean, theoretically, cardio should burn more calories, but then the benefit of resistance is that as well as burning calories, they'll also be building muscle. Whereas if they only did cardio, they might lose weight, but they wouldn't build any muscle. So I guess ideally a mixture of both, or whatever they prefer. But maybe they'd find resistance training easier because being actually larger or bigger actually means you can lift more weight. So they might actually have like kind of a benefit for resistance training rather than cardio. So it's kind of the other way around. If you're kind of underweight or lighter, you're probably going to find cardio easier, then it's going to be harder to lift weights.
I think there is also one very important thing we have to talk about when it comes to working out is that how do you avoid injuries?
So I try and warm up, so like 5 minutes of cardio, just to get the blood pumping and the heart beating, and then after that, kind of warm up with the weights. So with like a machine, just to do the empty machine with like no weight on at all, and then just gradually add on a little bit of weight, and after that do like half the weight that you're aiming for, and then the full weight, and then trying to keep good form, and going for kind of higher reps, like 8 to 12 reps. So if you're going for like 1 rep maxes, or even just lower reps, like I don't know, 6 reps or below, you're going to be using relatively heavier weight. Whereas if you're doing higher reps, you're doing relatively lighter weight because you have to lower the weight in order to be able to weigh the extra reps. And also having a belt helps a lot, I think, for like back support. But it's good also just to like take note of what makes you kind of sore. Like, so I used to deadlift more because it's kind of one of the main exercises, but I realised it wasn't really working for me. And yeah, I've seen videos where people were saying that unless you're like competing in like powerlifting or strongman, you don't really need to be doing deadlifts. It's just gonna put your back at risk. So you're trying to lift a heavy weight off the floor, normally for low reps. So it's kind of the opposite of like bodybuilding. So you're not doing like the higher 8 to 12 reps, but you're doing heavy weight for low reps. So my back always used to get pretty sore after that. So I pretty much just realised if the exercise isn't working, then find an alternative. And there's plenty of other things you can do for back, like bent over barbell rows and all sorts of other stuff like machine rows and cable rows. So I think let's try and generally take note. So if we don't get on with one exercise, then see if you can find an alternative. And
so how do you ensure recovery is part of your regime?
So I'm on a 3-day split, so it means I train the whole body across 3 days. So that gives me 3 days to recover. So if I'm doing, say, legs on day 1, then on day 2 you're doing like chest and triceps, like pushing, and then day 3 like back and biceps. So then when you get down to day 4 again, you're back to legs. So you've got 3 days to recover 72 hours, which normally should be enough. So I don't do a crazy amount of volume either. So if I was doing like a really long leg workout and I was doing like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 like quad exercises and then that again for hamstrings, that'd probably be too much. So I just do like one exercise for the quads for the legs, and then one for the hamstrings for the legs, and that's it. So it's basically just two leg exercises on my leg day, and then after 3 days should have recovered. But I mean, if in that case, if you haven't recovered, then I'll probably still train legs just to keep kind of following the same cycle. I'll probably do a different exercise and do a lighter weight and just do what I can manage. But generally, the recovery time is enough for me, as long as I'm doing relatively kind of low volume.
So in general, what's your advice to people who actually experience injuries?
So I've been lucky. I've never really had kind of anything like serious injuries. I've had kind of like kind of general kind of like aches and soreness, and maybe I've like strained or sprained a muscle a few times. Yeah, I used to have quite a few times when my back would get really sore. That's really from like deadlifts or stiff leg deadlifts. But I mean, luckily I finally learned my lesson and kind of realised to stop doing that. I mean, I started trying stiff leg deadlifts again, and just trying to see how much I can manage. But yeah, I've for injuries, for like minor ones, I try and train through it. It generally sounds kind of pretty like a bad advice, like you should rest it. But it depends on how serious the injury is. If it's just like some minor soreness, then if it's still sore after 3 days and you're due to train that body part again, then I'd say just do a lighter weight or do an exercise that's not going to be too taxing. So instead of doing like a free weight, like compound movement, you could just do a fixed machine. So you're just focusing on that one muscle and you're not going to be using any other muscles as well. But yeah, if it's like a serious injury, then you've got to be sensible. Like if you've like strained your back or something, and you should be able to kind of judge like if you're going to train again, is it going to make it worse? And if you have something like a broken arm, then you probably just can't use that arm at all, and you're going to have to wait till it heals. So it really kind of depends on the injury and how severe it is, and whether you think you can train like normal or train in a reduced fashion, or if you just can't train at all.
I want to finish the injury and the workout conversation by asking you that now we're entering summer, as long as we stay in the northern hemisphere, any particular advice to people who want to work out outdoors or even at the gym, but who find the weather too unbearable, too hot?
Well, a gym with air conditioning would be nice. My gym doesn't have that. I mean, the windows open a bit and there's fans, but I have to say it's very hot in there, which isn't ideal because I think hot weather makes you kind of feel tired and slow and sweaty. Whereas at least if it's cold, you're actually motivated to move a bit more just to at least warm yourself up. As for working outdoors, I mean, the benefit of the gym is it has all like the weights and the equipment. You're not normally going to find that outside. Some parks have some outdoor equipment that could be used, or you might do some bodyweight exercises if they've got some standard bars for like pull-ups and dips and press-ups. I suppose the general advice is either just find a gym that's cool enough with like air conditioning, or yeah, you could just try and work outdoors if anywhere has equipment, or just to do body weight calisthenics.
So we've talked about becoming big, losing weight, doing cardio. I just want to know, these are all action-packed, action-based. Everyone talks about nutrition as well. It seems to me that these two are intertwined, that they are equally important. Do you take any supplements, or what kind of nutrition tips or dietary requirements that you think that are important to you?
Yeah, people often say like how important diet is, and that diet is like 50% of the workout, or they'll say more that the diet's like 90%, or even like both are equally important, like both are 100%. For me, I've never really had much of a problem because I've always had kind of home cooked meals, which has been very nice. I mean, when I started off like 10 years ago, I was pretty skinny and probably kind of on the underweight side. Um, but I've never really been focused on tracking like the calories or like the macronutrients. Some people might want to do that if they're trying to gain weight or lose weight, or if they're competing. But I think for the average person, as long as you're generally trying to kind of eat kind of healthy, non-processed meals, so with kind of meat like chicken, and then carbs like rice or pasta, and then fresh veg, I think you can't really go wrong with that. Personally, I've always been fine. Just kind of generally eating. I try to eat healthy meals, so I still like to kind of snack on things that are typically unhealthy. I don't know if I'm just have a good metabolism, or maybe it's the working out every day helps keep off anything unhealthy I eat. I also take some supplements as well, which I just think help. So there's creatine monohydrate powder, which is meant to be kind of the most effective supplement. It's had the most studies done on it to prove that it's effective. And then the other one is protein powder, just to add to protein in the diet, so that you just mix into water as well as the creatine powder into a shake, and you drink it like a milkshake, and you can get different flavors like chocolate and strawberry. So tastes fine. So I think that's handy. Yeah, it's hard to say how much difference either of them make, but I think it always helps to have more protein in the diet. That's important for building and repairing muscle. And then the creatine, it probably gives us a small benefit to strength, and there seem to be studies that show there's benefits. But there are lots of other supplements out there, but I think taking those two main ones is plenty. So that's all I take.
And I also want to know, apart from the dietary that importance with workout, what about technology? Have you been using any technology to say that track your workout progress, or any technology that has benefit you your progress, or anything that you will, for instance, any particular good app you want to share with the audience and recommend them to use?
Yeah, I use an app to track my workout called FitNote. Um, it's for, I think, Android only, but I think there should be an equivalent for Apple or other phones. It says, yeah, it's called FitNotes. But I think that's been really useful because after you finish every set, you record the reps and the weight, and then it tracks it all, and it can create like graphs of your past performance, and give like 1 rep max, and this kind of keeps all the data in one place. So although you could write everything down just with pen and paper in a notebook, you kind of have to be scrolling through all of your pages trying to find the last time you did the exercise. I think having an app just makes everything a lot easier. And then apart from that, I just use my phone to also listen to music. And then if you're new to the gym, it can be handy as well. You can, if you want to look up how to do an exercise, like look up videos or just text guides. There's so much information on the internet you can also find, but it's good to try not to get distracted by your phone. You don't want to, so if you start browsing your phone in between sets, and then you can get distracted. So it's best just to try and stay focused and just maybe listen to music, and record your set, but don't let yourself get distracted and start going on other apps.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Yeah, to be fair, some of the tips that you have shared are the actual tips I have been executing. For instance, listening to music or using some apps to help me track the either the calories or the workout progress. So I think that was very good. I think before we wrap up, I would like to know any particular moments or like memorable moments you would like to share throughout your fitness journey. For instance, that the benefits that they have brought you, or any challenges or particular setbacks that you have experienced in your workout journey.
So I think what you've got to be aware is that progress can be quite slow. Like when you start, you can get initial gains quite quickly. But after you've been training for a while, progress comes slower. The way I track my progress is by the estimated 1 rep max. So there's kind of a formula that's used based on the weight and how many reps you can do to say how much you could do for 1 rep. So I find that a good way to track progress, because if you're trying to measure your like body parts, like your bicep, the growth is going to be so tiny from like week to week or month to month. Like even if you can see like a millimeter's growth, you don't know if that's because of the muscles growing, or maybe you're just measuring it differently, or if it's even muscle growth, it could be fat as well. So focusing on strength gains and hoping that carries over to muscular gains, but it can be a bit disappointing if you're looking at the graph and it looks like over the last month you haven't improved, or even over the last year you think, oh, I've hardly improved. But as long as you're staying committed and putting in the work, I think it will pay off. You just kind of see it as a long-term thing, and you can't be expecting like every week you're going to lift more and set a personal best every week. But as long as over the long term you're hopefully going to progress and gain strength. And I mean, even if you don't grow strength, I mean, even if you're stuck at a weight, I mean, you can still be building muscle and getting leaner and getting better.
Yeah.
So try not to get demotivated from slow progress.
So tell us, what are your exact future fitness goals and aspirations looking ahead?
So yeah, I mean, ideally you're meant to have kind of specific measurable goals, and then there's kind of like SMART goals. So you set like a specific goal for a short period of time and you go for it. My goals are more kind of generalized, so based on the Fit Notes app that I use, just over the long term, looking to increase my estimated 1 rep maxes. Since I don't really measure my body parts, I can't really say like I want to hit kind of this many inches on my arm or my chest, because I don't even know what they currently are. I'm just kind of assuming that hopefully over time in the gym they'll grow, and I mean it seems to have worked for me so far. It would be nice to hit some kind of milestones in the gym, like benching 2 plates, which is like 100 kilos, kind of that kind of thing. But I'm not too worried about lifting like a certain amount of weight, since I'm more going for bodybuilding, so I'm more going for the body appearance, rather than powerlifting. So I'm not trying to lift as much weight just for like 1 rep. So I don't really have any particular reason to want to lift like really heavy weights. So as long as I'm lifting in like the 8 to 12 rep range, and then the estimated 1 rep max is going up and I'm getting stronger, I'll be happy, and as a result everything else will grow. But those are kind of general strength goals, and just leads to muscle goals.
Actually, you just mentioned something like I'm going to ask you to conclude this interview, which is that can you please provide any advice to people who are thinking to start their workout journey but don't know where to start? What is your advice to them?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of something you said earlier. Like once you work out, you're always glad you started. So the hardest thing is starting, I think. Like if you're really not feeling in the mood to work out, the best thing you can do is get to the gym and get started. Because normally, once you get into it, you enjoy it. So, there's a few sayings like the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So I think it's kind of like that with working out as well. Just kind of get to the gym and make the effort and get started, and then take it from there. And some people worry that people will like judge them, but everyone's there just trying to improve themselves, so you shouldn't worry about what other people are doing, and no one's going to come over and make a comment. Everyone's focused on themselves. It can always be scary doing something new, but the best thing is just to start. Find a gym near you. Quite a few 24-hour gyms might be quite convenient, and they can actually be cheaper. And there's lots of information online, or when you sign up there might be an induction, and you can speak to someone who works there, like a gym instructor. You can even hire a personal trainer, but that can be quite expensive. But quite a lot of the equipment at the gym actually has information telling you how to use it. So you can start with just the machines, and then from there you can slowly move towards free weights. But the main thing is just to make the effort to get started, to start working out, and do your best and do as much as you can.
Thank you so much for your words, and I'm pretty certain that people, including myself, have benefited loads from your advice and tips. And I think at the end of the day, we just want everyone to remain healthy and happy. So again, thank you so much, James, for being on my podcast. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again. Bye bye. Thank you again for listening. I hope you have enjoyed the conversation. If you do, may I kindly ask you to hit the follow button on your screen. The bigger the show, the bigger the guests I can invite. I sincerely hope to see you again very soon.